An opening slide that reads, Diabetes and Sight Loss, Derek's story.
Hello, everybody. This is Ben speaking, and I am the Advocacy, Accessibility, and Community Engagement Program Lead. And today I will be interviewing Derek. He's going to be sharing his experience to celebrate Diabetes Awareness Month. So, hello, Derek. How are you doing today?
Not bad, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So thank you for coming on here and sharing your experiences. I'm going to start off with my first question. If you could tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how long you have been living with diabetes.
Sure. So again, my name is Derek Lackey. I am 39 years old currently, and I was diagnosed in 1994 at the age of 11 as a type 1 juvenile diabetic. I ended up losing my eyesight later in life at the age of 30 due to retinal detachments from the laser treatment therapy I was having in conjunction with my diabetes.
Okay, so before you lost your sight, what was it like managing your diabetes and how would you compare it to now?
Managing your life prior to sight loss, it's definitely a night and day. There is a lot more hesitation and trial and error, as well as independence loss after losing your eyesight, trying to manage it as it was before. Being able to simply just look at your insulin pump or look at a syringe drop, whatever you're doing, look at your glucose monitor to see where you're at, and to be able to just walk out the door and go do some exercise and things like that was much easier before sight loss.
Thank you. I hear what you're saying for sure. And that leads into the next question. So have you faced any barriers in accessing diabetes care, whether it was treatments, training, attitudes, or hesitation for medical professionals in regards to your sight loss?
I would say access to medical services has not been an issue, but access to training has been a little more difficult, especially when people are trying to problem solve themselves. Like my pump trainer was trying to figure out how she could best help me with this new 770 system, because it is so involved and it's so much smarter technology. But being that we're in today's age now, and being that I've been part of the blind community for so many years, I was able to say, look, if you have access to some kind of video network, whether it's Zoom, Teams, an Apple device, we can use video footage, so that way you can literally see my insulin pump in front of me, and you can kind of help guide me through what we're doing and talk me through it. So we did that for our training a few times in a row to kind of get that going and get it up and running. Luckily enough for myself, I'm very comfortable using insulin pumps, so I had one for several years before losing eyesight. So it was a pretty natural movement for me to do it. It just now needed to be matched with the lack of vision available. So training would have been a bit of an issue, but we managed to cumber our way through that. One of the biggest drawbacks I feel like I've had is when the time came to start looking at a new insulin pump, because my old one was off warranty, was the resistance I was kind of met with through the pump manufacturers when I was talking to Medtronic, and they would just simply tell me, well, we don't usually advise and we don't condone people with sight loss to be using these because these devices are so involved. If you're comfortable, you can, but we don't normally advise selling them to the blind community, which I thought was absolutely absurd, because there's a huge quality of life boost that everyone can have from using these devices. And it's as much as simply having to work in, some newer modern technology into their devices, so that way they can be better accessed.
Did you ever feel that these manufacturers invited your feedback at all?
Oh, they're definitely interested in it, but I mean, a lot of the feedback I usually get from them when you call to ask a question, or if I've ever had to talk to them in the past, is especially the sales representatives that are out there. They're like, I hear that there's these great applications where you can call someone, where you can talk to someone, where you can get someone to give you sighted assistance, which always brings me back to that, that independence things that we all go through, and we're sitting there going, but why? Why do I have to give up my independence to someone else? First of all, and secondly, how comfortable is some random person off of, say, the application like Be My Eyes going to be trying to give me some kind of assistance and help me guiding through, knowing that this is a medical device and this could probably hurt me if they do something wrong? I've met with it, several times where people are like, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm just not comfortable helping you with this. It's a little too risky. I don't want to do something wrong. And you can't do anything but accept that, saying, hey, not a problem. Thank you so much anyways. Luckily enough for myself, I've got several family members that are available through a FaceTime video where I can quickly get a hand if I need it. But, these companies, these big companies, instead of really diving into what does access mean, they're just trying to find that shortcut way out, as how can we easily get out of this by just saying, oh, okay, well, here, give up your independence and call these people, because it's easier to call them than it is for us to change our technology, which I really feel like has been a drawback over the past few years. But now, as of recently, I know that CNIB, as well as the JDRF and Diabetes Canada and stuff, have been doing a lot of work to get these manufacturers on board to start really looking at access and what it means and what they need to do to give it to us. So I think there's some great things coming down the pipeline. It's going to be some years away, but I think that we finally got their ear open and listening to us, I think, is a great first step and in the right direction.
So if you could ask governments, manufacturers, or medical professionals to make one change in making managing your diabetes easier for a person with sight loss, what would that be? What would you say to those parties?
One of the biggest things I think of right now, over and above access, or it really, I guess you really would consider it to be access, because not only access for myself and for many of us just means being able to use the equipment. The other big thing I would say when it comes to access is being able to afford the equipment, get the equipment to be able to use it. There's so many friends that I have that are type 1 diabetics within the blind community that either can't afford to buy one of these devices or are too afraid to use it. And it really comes down to access on both of those. So being able to have the smart technology in order to use these devices built into them, so that way there is no hesitation on our part. Everything is straightforward. It's no different than picking up an iPhone. It'll tell you what you're doing. It reads to you exactly what you're on, how to achieve what it is you want. And it might be a matter of maybe memorizing a couple of your buttons, what they do and what they mean, which is very easy for us to do and would take a lot of the hesitation out of it for people. But being able to access the equipment like insulin pumps and continuous glucose monitors is such a game changer when it comes to treating type 1 diabetes or even type 2 diabetes and how we deal with it and the quality of life that people can have. These manufacturers always advertise that insulin pumps, it's live a better, healthier, longer life. Well, that's something within the blind community we all want to, but many of us can't afford, and then many of us can't even use because we can't access the technology. It's too scary. It's too much of a steep learning curve. My insulin pump is so smart, And out of it, I'd be lucky if I use 10% of the features that are actually available on it, because that's all I can really access comfortably. And it's pretty sad because there's so much more that it can do, but without, learning and memorizing every single feature on this insulin pump, or having to call somebody every time it goes off, there's no point. So it's sad, because really the way I use my insulin pump is probably at its most minimal point and way of usage. Really, it's really just giving me my basal rate like a regular pancreas would, and then when I eat something, I give myself a bolus, which is a chunk of insulin, and I use the easy bolus feature because I can set it in a certain number of increments that makes it easiest for me to calculate. There's so many more types of boluses and wave patterns and cycles that you can kind of do with these things that are in there, but I can't access them. It's just not something that's feasibly possible without giving up more of my independence, and then trying to memorize and write sheets and sheets of notes all over your phone so you can try and figure out what you're doing. So the biggest thing I would talk to them about is access, and access means, affordability, the availability, and the ability to use it comfortably and independently. So having that smart technology built in.
Well said. Thank you so much, Derek. Very appropriate to Diabetes Awareness Month with your experience. So that is all the questions I have for today. Thank you so much, my friend, for even educating me as well, and educating the masses.
Well, thank you. Whatever I can do, because this is something that affects my life, both as a type 1 diabetic and in the visually impaired community. So it's something that's been overdue for years, getting access to a lot of this equipment and the availability of the technology and the equipment. So it's time that we brought these dinosaurs into the future. So
exactly. Once again, thank you so much, Derek, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Ben. You too.
Take care.